Hi, welcome back. I am lucky enough to be sitting here with Zach Deputy, fresh off the stage at
Yes,
Rock
indeed.
for Hunger Fest 5. And I know the crowd enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it because I was out there. How did you enjoy it?
I loved it. My toes weren't that happy wearing sandals.
It is a little chilly.
It is a little chilly, but other than that, no, it was great. I really enjoyed the set.
It was really cool. I've never seen anything like that personally. So, it was just really cool to see. How did you come up with this one-man band concept?
It was kind of an accident. I had a delay pedal / loop machine pedal, and I never used it for looping, but then one day I went to go pick up my bass player, and he was highly intoxicated and could not make it to the show. And so I just said, well, I'm gonna play the show no matter what. So I went to the show without a band, and that was my first loop machine show, and it was completely by accident. And I thought it was awful, to be honest, but the crowd loved it, and I got a lot of compliments, and I said to myself that day, I was like, imagine if it was good. And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. Because that was going to be my follow-up question is, are you that hard to get along with that, you couldn't find anybody to work with you? But I figured
No, I always thought I was going to do the band thing, and this kind of like, I was having like 500 people show up for this show, and my band was having like 60 people show up for the band show. So it was kind of like the people decided, not really me. I always thought of this as a side project.
So now you have your roots in the Caribbean, and you live in South Carolina. So is this the result of that combination of influences, what you do from those two?
Totally. I don't think you can escape, your heritage, what your parents were and what they bring to the table. And I also don't think you can escape the region where you grew up, and the time and era that you grew up. And I think all three of those things play a huge part in what molded and shaped my imagination as far as music goes.
Gotcha. Now, I assume you have multiple influences because I want to read this quote from your website describing your music as island-infused drum and bass gospel ninja soul.
Yeah.
First of all, are you the one that came up with that? And second of all, how did you come up with that?
I think it really describes what I do pretty well. I mean, the ninja is kind of funny and out there, but we all joke at what I do is kind of ninja. I like have to be moving constantly all the time, pressing 100 buttons just to make it go through. But more than anything, the reason we put ninja in there is because it's humorous.
Uh-huh.
And at times the music can get very humorous. And I think it shows, that element of life. I think real music should make you laugh, cry, shit your pants laughing, and everything in between. It's just like life, and if you're really a true artist, you're explaining life to people. And so it's the ups, the downs, and everything in between.
So you're kind of more of a visceral reaction than like an intellectual kind of reaction? Is that what you're looking for?
No, I love the intellectual reaction. If you don't have a sense of humor, then you're not that intelligent.
Right.
So I'm just going for the real reaction of a real person and not trying to be something. You listen to certain artists and they're one vibe nonstop. It's just that. And maybe you are monotone and maybe you only have one emotion. But me personally, I have a bunch of emotions. I look at life in many different angles. A lot of things make me happy, some things make me sad, some things make me laugh. And I like to express it all in music, the full package, not just part of who I am. Not just the part that I want to reveal to people, but the whole thing.
Gotcha. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about exactly what you do. I noticed that you have, on stage, you have 4 microphones that you use.
Yeah.
Tell me about that and what are they for and how does that work?
Well, starting from my right, the one all the way on the right is my kick mic, and I use it to emulate a kick drum. So I'll play into it just like a kick drum. And then the one right next to that is my main vocal mic. It's completely dry, no effects on it. And the one to the left of that is my snare and hi-hat mic, so I'll use it to go. And I also cut it on sometimes to put chorus and delay on it and sing with that mic and my vocal mic. And the one all the way to the left is a vocal synthesizer, and I use it to create vocal harmonies so I can give the appearance of having backup singers while I'm doing my thing at the same time.
Right.
And all those mics can be looped through my loop machine as well.
Now, do you Are you just able to sort of keep track of all this just because of your experience of doing it all at the same time? I guess what I'm saying is, do your songs change when you do them on stage? Just because
they
of
always
of
change.
the fact that you're always having to do kind of a little different thing each time you play, right?
They change because I get very bored, and I'm aiming to entertain myself, and in doing so, entertain everybody else. And I always want things to change and evolve, and create new things. That way, each show is fresh to me, and it doesn't get old and it doesn't get stagnant. I don't want to play the same songs at the same tempo and the same exact groove every time, because even the greatest things in life, if you do them too much, after a while they start to wear on you, and you need variety in life. Mm-hmm. So I like to live each show as a new show and leave the old shows in the past and only focus on that show.
So how do you keep track of all this stuff that's going on, all the loops and the different sounds I mean,
I don't know.
I can't fathom that.
I think with anything in life, no matter what it is, when you get really good at it, you get in this groove, and you almost. I used to paint houses for a living, and after you've been painting for a long time, when you go to paint, you forget that you're even painting. You're just like a machine, and you just think about everything else, and you're just off in a daydream. And I find myself in that euphoric space when I'm playing. Like I'm not even necessarily thinking about playing. I'm just playing, and my thoughts are just rattling, and it just becomes natural. When I'm really thinking about it, it's hard. But my brain works weird, and I get bored, like I said. And since I'm doing so much, it's better for my brain. Because if I was doing just a guitar, I probably wouldn't be able to play. Like I probably wouldn't be that great in a band as a guitarist, because I'd get really bored, and I'd be like Mr. Noodle or something,
Playing
you know?
the same old stuff.
I'd be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'd want to do something, you know, and then the bandmates would probably be like, yeah, you're Mr. Noodle, and then I'd be like, okay. But I get to do so many things at once, and my brain works better like that. It calms down, and I think very simple, and for whatever reason, it works.
It works, yeah.
I'm like Rayman.
Now, when you write a song,
yeah.
Do you sit down with an idea in your head, or do you just kind of start doodling and doing loops and stuff and see what comes together?
I never write songs for my loop machine unless they happen organically at a show. And sometimes I'll just make up something at a show, and I'll say to myself, that was awesome. And numerous times, probably about 15 times so far, I've recorded a song live for the first time and completely made it up and loved it, and then took that recording and wrote down all the lyrics that I made up and recreated the song, and I just stayed with the same original lyrics that I made up live at that show and the same structure, and then redid it that way. And I've written many songs that way. But usually when I'm writing songs, I do it on an acoustic guitar, and I do it at home, and it has no loops in mind. And probably I would say 70% of my songs aren't made for the loop machine, and I don't even play them live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird.
So the songs you do play live, you write on acoustic guitar, and then you just kind of embellish from there once you get them ready to...
Yeah, most of the songs that I play live have organically happened over the years, little bit by little bit, and they're kind of made for the loop machine, because you're in a box in the loop machine. You can't play huge, movements or huge progressions that go this way and that way. You're kind of stuck in your groove that you initially make. So I can have an A section and a B section, but I can't have a huge movement, because I would have to loop the bass in that movement. I'd have to loop the guitar in that movement, the second guitar in that movement, the synth sound that I have in that whole movement, and it would get to be like 25 minutes before I would even sing anything. And then everybody would be falling asleep, and then I'd be out of a job.
Well, from what I saw tonight, I don't think people would be falling asleep, but I did want to ask you, I think you said you had a couple of new projects in the works. I wanted to give you a chance to tell us about those.
Yeah, I'm actually done with my DVD. I've been done with the DVD for a while. We're waiting on artwork. It's always much easier to finish my part than to decide on artwork. We're waiting on artwork for that, and we're hoping that it should be done and start printing it within a month. The new album, and that project's called Zach Deputy's House Party. The new album is supposed to be coming out in April, I think, next year. And that's done, mastered, and completely finished. But, I want to give the label time to promote it and kind of do their thing. But we're expecting to put it out in April. So we'll see how that goes. But both of them are done and just, yeah, they're locked and loaded. Me too. They're both in the cannon. We just haven't lit the wick.
Okay, cool. I want to ask you one other thing. As you know, this is a festival to raise awareness and funds, obviously, for hungry people.
Yeah.
In particular, hungry children. When you play an event like that, where you know it's a benefit, you know there's a cause involved?
Yeah.
Does that factor into any kind of like vibe that you get on stage? Are you aware of that when you play, or do you just kind of go do your thing?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think, you know, I think it affects everybody. I think a lot of people are here for that reason before the music, which is great. Makes you feel better about what you're doing because you're not just playing music to make people rock out, which is great because they have a great time, put a smile on their face, you know, feed their soul and makes them happy. But you're doing it for more than just that reason. And I think you really learn when it's a smaller, not to say at smaller benefits that I played, when you're looking at the people that you're playing for and their families, it's really touching, and then that really lets you know why you're doing it. And this is much bigger, and I think if some people could actually see the kids that we're playing music for and what the reason, if they could actually see those kids, then it would affect people a lot more. But knowing it, seeing it at the ground level, doing things like this make me feel really good about my job and what I do.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I really enjoyed the show, and I have to say, obviously, the gentleman who just ran by and hollered at you,
yeah,
obviously enjoyed it too. So
he loves me.
I want to thank you very much for being involved in Rock for Hunger.
Thank you, Brian,
and for putting on a great show.
Yep.
And for sitting down and chatting with us for a minute here.
Anytime,
so appreciate that. Just want to remind you out there, you can still get involved. You can always get involved. Don't forget to visit rockforhunger.org and check out ways you can volunteer, ways you can help. And thanks again. We enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys.